Yo, what's going on? It's Terrell, Hall of Fame, D-Line, TBKC, and all that sweet, beautiful, wonderful shit. Look, man, yeah, it is my birthday. It's Poop's birthday, but a couple videos came to mind, man, as I work on this other shit. I tell y'all what, I've had this discussion now several times in the last couple weeks. I'm not here to give y'all a bunch of false information. I'm not here to try to make myself look smarter than your doctor or any of that type of shit. I'm just telling you what I know from 20 years of breeding experience, doing surgicals, doing AIs, doing tons of progesterone testing, doing all the things to make puppies. Also, having the blessing to be in touch with two of the leading breeding specialists in the country, especially canine breeding specialists in the country. Dr. Hutchinson from up in Ohio. If you Google Dr. Hutchinson, reproductive specialist, veterinary reproductive specialist, Ohio, you'll see his stuff come out. He has done seminars all over the country. You know what I mean? You'll see his credentials. He's not your regular run-of-the-mill veterinarian who happens to do breedings. This dude is the guy who actually teach them. And then another legend, rest in peace, Dr. Brimacombe from Lakeland, Florida. Another doctor who has spoken at literally Ivy League schools and colleges around the country when she was living on breeding, you know. So, and I've also dealt with Lake Alfred, and damn, it's slipping my mind, the lady who runs Lake Alfred Clinic, but she was the Westminster veterinarian several years, you know. So with all this being said, I just say this, and I feel bad that I forget that lady's name. She treated me well. But it is Lake Alfred Animal Clinic, very nice clinic, and they get the job done. But, you know, as y'all know, I went through many years of schooling myself, you know, in veterinary medicine and different things of that nature. I still study on this stuff. I'm not going to come on this page and feed y'all false information. If you are doing a progesterone test, it works very, very simply. Quite simply. At a 5, the eggs drop. Within 48 hours of those eggs dropping, they are able to be fertilized. When they first drop, they're hard. The semen will not be able to penetrate that egg. Within 48 hours, those eggs will be able to be fertilized. Now, during this process and throughout the years, what has happened is you have veterinarians who try to gauge how far into the fertilization is by the nanos after the 5 or different things like that. But as you'll see, if you look up Dr. Hutchinson's especially, he breaks it down very well. It's irrelevant. And one of the reasons it's irrelevant, and I've heard several professors and everybody else talk about this, the progesterone levels of the day of the breeding after the 5, is because every female will rise or sometimes stall after the actual dropping of the eggs. So you can sometimes have a female to drop the eggs at a 5. You can test her again 3 days later, and she might only be at a 7.8, 7 point whatever. You know what I mean? But the one thing that's a factual, and it says it, especially in Hutchinson's things, is that the world revolves around that number 5. Because the one thing that we know for sure, we don't know how these bitches is going to rise, if they're going to stall. I had a bitch who tested out at 0.2 for a month while she was bleeding. All of a sudden, boom, she hit a 5. We tested her again on the day of her surgical, which they scheduled for 2 days later. She was all the way up to like 24 in 2 days. So that's what I'm saying. Like when you test all of this, it could rise, it could stall. We don't know what it's going to do, but that 5 is definite. That's when those eggs will drop. Once those eggs have dropped, we know within 48 hours they can be fertilized. This is what you base your breeding around. If a veterinarian is having you do all these tests later on and telling you, oh, we got to breed at a 18, we got to breed at a 20, we got to breed at 16, really, they're BSing you. And they might believe in this thing, but the bottom line is what they're doing is almost guesswork at this point, because this is after the fact of the actual dropping of the eggs and the clock being started. So they're telling you, oh, okay, more than likely the bitch is at an 18, so probably 3 or 4 days ago she was at a 5. No, that number should be based off the day that the eggs drop. It should not be based off of how her hormones decide to rise the test after the fact. Do the reading of the literature of the true experts and not just your local vet, and they will tell you this. This is the way it is. Me and myself and another breeder and friend of mine's, Ruben Cortez, we can attest to it. We can both attest to this. We used a clinic that was living and dying by trying to breed bitches in between 17 and 20 on the nanos. Not only us, but several other breeders talked about the countless amount of breedings where the breedings wouldn't take. One guy specifically, I told him our method. I sent him the literature. He actually called all the way to Ohio from Miami to talk to Dr. Hutchinson himself, and he referenced to another veterinarian there in Florida, which was happened to be Brimacombe's office, and they told him the same thing. They said, look, if you are going to do this breeding, 5 is your number. Start breeding that bitch at a 5. The semen has been shown in tests that it can live for up to 7 days. Well, it's actually in between 7 and 10 days inside the bitch. So if you go early at a 5, say for instance, you put that shit in her right at 5. Now, she won't be ready for 48 hours, but it's also been shown that the semen can take up to a day on a natural or regular AI to swim all the way into the cervix, to get all the way into the cervix. So timing would actually be sort of perfect. You would be, within a 24-hour span of when it could be jumped off. But the semen will be living for 4 to 5 days, more closer probably to a week to 10 days. But if you miss that window, the eggs are dead. So if you play around and miss that window, trying to wait until this number goes up to a 17 to 20, you will miss your breeding. Plenty of times I've seen bitches that are 5 days after they've hit a 5 who still haven't reached a 20. They'll linger right there in the 14, 15 area. Meanwhile, their eggs are dying, and you got a vet telling you to wait when your window is closing. We literally, me and Ruben can attest to this, and I won't say the veterinarian's name on here, but this particular veterinarian, we counted over 12 breedings that they messed up by doing this, and finally, we brought it into question, and we both decided not to ever use them again because they were trying to convince us that they were doing something like space age technology and doing it different, and basically they were just missing the window. Going back to the guy, because I know I'm jumping around, that actually used them and failed on 2 occasions. He after I referenced him to who the couple of veterinarians, and they told him the same thing. We did a basic AI on my porch. Once that bitch hit a 5, we hit her the day his progesterone test came back at a 5 something. We hit her the next day, and we hit her the next day. We hit her those 3 days back to back. The bitch fuck around and had a litter of 9 puppies when the first 2 times, including 1 surgical, she didn't take. Trust me when I tell y'all this, some people are going to come on here and debate this shit or whatever the case may be. That 5 is your principal number that you need to be knowing. This is when my bitch is dropping eggs. I'm going to tell y'all what about a lot of these veterinarians right now. Some of them are not doing this in bad faith. This is just a way that they believe. It's really guesswork after the 5 that, okay, if she hit a 5, on Monday, her number is probably going to be, 17 in 3 days. That means she's fertile. But sometimes it doesn't happen like that. The bitch will stall out or she'll skyrocket. It makes everything whatever. Hit that 5, you know where you're at. But other ones, I believe that they're tanking bully breedings intentionally, very much so intentionally. They're like, hey, we're not going to turn away the money, but, oh, your dog just didn't take, And I've seen a lot of people, say it's amazing how certain vets, you see them coming out of there with Labrador puppies and this and that and the other and, whatever. Then some of them you get lucky with. But one thing about it is, I know up there with Hutchinson, and this is way back in the day, he did, was it 14? I think 14. Because, 14, because the other doctor did the other 3. But 14 breedings for me, only 1 breeding didn't take. That was actually Castro's mom, who was a very little bitch, like 47 pounds, to Hallie's brother, who was a 125-pound male. At that time, dude was so on point, he said this breeding might reject simply because of the size differential in the dogs. You know what I mean? He was like, it's so big that her, you know, she might reject his semen. And that's the only one that didn't take out of all of those breedings, you know. So Brimacombe, actually, I never had one breeding at all with Brimacombe that didn't take. And that was probably a dozen or so breedings over the years. Never had one that didn't take with her. The stuff that I did at Lake Alfred, I only used them, well, 4 times. Yeah, 4 times. But 5 times. But anyway, the numbers don't matter. But they hit it on point every time, and all 3 of those veterinarians use the same principles. All of them are very, very well accredited. I'm telling y'all, stop letting these people feed y'all information. Go do your medical research and get down with it. I understand sometimes, you know, some people have success going with the higher numbers. But this is something that I'm telling you, it's scientific. They teach it at Ohio State University. I know that. This is the way it goes, man. You know, look into it, follow into it, and you know your shit when you want to walk in the office, because these people will tell you anything sometimes. Like I say, sometimes their methods are work out for them, but this method is for sure. I know how it works. Do your research. A 5 is when that bitch is ovulating. I'll holler at y'all next time, man. Peace.